Hi, I'm Tristan Kwong, line cook at Bonnie's Brooklyn. They call me Fruit Tom in the restaurant because I'm responsible for buying, sourcing, and curating all the fruit that goes on the fruit plate. Today I'm going to show you guys how to choose the ripest fruit. Here we have pineapple. You can see like it has these little green spots here, but you can see the rest of it is kind of like golden, almost the color it would look like inside. When they get really, really ripe, they almost turn like golden and start glowing. The bottoms will become very fragrant once they're ripe. If you take it at the top here and grab like maybe the centermost leaf, it should come out with relative ease. And you don't want it to come out like too easy, like you kind of want to feel a little pluck. This one, a little bit tougher. Pineapple is one of the most metal fruits out there because it has bromolamine in it, which breaks down protein. So anytime you eat a pineapple and you feel that like tingly kind of stingy feeling in your mouth, it's because the pineapple is dissolving your tissue in your mouth. I like to serve it with the skin. It makes it more recognizable. It's a big core in the center that's completely inedible, so I just like to split that down here. Then I'll go like this. From here, I'll take it and I'll just try to slice right underneath the skin. And then that way when it hits the plate, you can just pop a piece off. Very good, actually. This is a watermelon, but I'm sure you know that already. And I'm sure if you've walked inside of almost any supermarket during the summer, you can see a bunch of like middle-aged men going over the watermelon going like this, or this. They're not wrong. The best way to tell whether or not they're ripe is one, if they're heavy, and two, if you tap it, and on the other side you have your hand here, you can feel the vibration come through. The stronger the vibration, the more water, because energy travels through water and nothing is lost there. The best way, in my opinion, to pick watermelon is to pick the heaviest one relative to its size. What you're looking for in a ripe watermelon is that it's juicy. The flesh isn't mealy, but it's firm and crispy. Good watermelon. The best way to find a ripe banana is just to look at the sugar spotting on the outside. Don't confuse it with bruising. Like this is a little bit of bruising, but these spots mean that they're getting ripe. It means the sugar is crystallizing under the skin. The best way to store bananas is out on your counter away from other fruit because they are huge ethylene producers. Most, but not all fruits release ethylene, which is why it's a good idea if you're looking for ripe fruit at the grocery store to always dig to the bottom of the barrel. That's where most of the gas gets trapped between the fruit, and those will probably be the most ripe fruit you can find. And I don't really honestly put them on the fruit plate often, but we have them in-house sometimes because I like to turbo ripen our mangoes. But like little coins are nice. Sometimes you can kind of want to bias. This is an apple. I think it's a Fuji apple. Ripe apples will start to lose their greenish color. You can tell if they're juicy based on relative weight to size. If it's kind of small and it feels heavy, then that means there's a lot of juice inside of it. When I go to pick them, like I do with most fruit, I'll pick up one and I'll go like this. And I'll go, oh, that feels that heavy. And then I'll grab the other one. I'll go, that one feels less heavy. So I would take this one over this one. Crunchy, sweet. These are Fuji apples. Next up, we have pears. If you see like dark spots on the skin, not to worry. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that the sugar is crystallizing underneath the skin. Ideally, when you pick them, they'll be a little bit more soft with a slight give when you touch them, but like not mushy. So if it feels soft in your hand, it'll likely be soft in your mouth. Pears, a lot like apples, are up to preference. Some people like them crunchier and less sweet, and some people like them softer and more sweet. Yummy. Here we have a tremoya. It's in the family of custard apples. Mark Twain wrote about this and he said it's like one of like the king of fruit or something like that. There's a quote that I don't remember. The most delicious fruit known to man. Mark Twain. So you can tell these are ripe when they turn from like bright green to a slightly darker color and they start to get squishy. There are lots of these little black seeds which if you eat too many are toxic, so don't eat the seeds. They smell like straight up sugar. It's pudding inside of a skin, like with seeds, you know? It's delicious. Amazing. Dragon fruit are actually cacti fruit. They grow on cactuses and native to South America. These are 3 different types of dragon fruit. I know these two look exactly the same. I can tell the difference because, well, I cut them like every day. You can tell all 3 are ripe the same way, and that's by giving it a little press, feeling a little bit of give. It won't dent and it won't spring back, but you can definitely feel that it like is soft inside. On these red and white ones, they'll darken in color a little bit as they ripen, and the green will kind of fade away, but the green will always kind of stay. Like this one is pretty ripe, but you can see like the tendrils are getting a little bit more red toward the top here. They're getting a little bit less green. You can tell when they're getting a little bit riper too, because the flesh, instead of being white and opaque, it'll turn slightly translucent around the edges. Yellow ones, same way. I like to start with the white ones because this one will stain my knife. They are bright red. It maybe tastes like a slightly juicier kiwi. I feel like dragon fruit are kind of having a moment right now. I don't really know why. I don't know if they deserve it. Visually stunning. Taste-wise, not my favorite. Damn, that's really good. So here we have another tropical fruit, papaya. So when they're ripe, they'll get a little bit softer, a little bit bouncy. Like the flesh is like soft. If you press it too hard, like it will indent, and you can feel that indent. This one, on the other hand, rock hard. Still green. this can become this in maybe like 2 or 3 days. But yeah, you kind of want them extra ripe. Otherwise, they kind of just taste like nothing. Inside, you'll see right here, they are hollow and they have a ton of seeds. These seeds are actually edible. I just scoop the seeds out. There's a little like fibers that the seeds are connected to. You can just scrape all that out. Take the ends off. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. There are your golden arches. I could eat this whole thing in one sitting, honestly. So I think passion fruit is one of the harder fruit to tell whether it's ripe or not. Just because while they do change color, it's not usually the best indicator of when they're ripe. I think the best way to tell is relative weight to size. These are a green varietal. And then there's a variety that's more egg-shaped rather than like round. Inside here, there's a lot more liquid because the liquid is heavier than the fruit or the flesh itself. So while this one is larger, it's definitely less heavy than this one. I like to slice the bottom a little bit so it has a base. And then I'll just go straight down the middle like this. And then they'll sit flat right up. You get a little base. It's still very tart, but slightly sweeter. This one is way too ripe. Ooh, it's like a warhead. I'm really excited because mango is my favorite fruit. So these are Kent mango. These are called Altufo or champagne mangoes. You can find these a lot in like Thailand. I think a really interesting way to check for ripeness on mangoes in general is to check the stem bit here. You'll sometimes see there's like a slight stream of like clear sticky liquid, and that's sugar seeping out of the mango. They both do start completely green when they fruit, and they will change color as they grow. The riper they get, the stronger smelling they'll be. The best way to tell is based on feeling it. All mangoes when ripe will be slightly soft to the touch with like a small give. They'll keep the indent you press into the skin. Inside of the mango is a huge pit. You just take the cheek off of it and you cut a crosshatch pattern. Just pop it out like that. But at home, I like to eat them like this. I'll eat these in the park like this during the summer. People will look at me funny, and I think it's because they're jealous. These are star fruit, and they are the same species even though they look incredibly different. They're just on completely different ends of the spectrum of ripeness, where this one is crazy ripe and this one is super underripe. The skin is a little bit waxy, and you're kind of looking for like firm-ish flesh. This one is dark yellow, almost orange, and it looks like it's almost glowing. And this one is super firm and bright green. So when they're green, super underripe. When they're glowing, super ripe. Peel these nasty little edges off. Once it's done like that, you just cut them in little slices. They're crunchy, they're crisp, they're very juicy, and they're like very, very refreshing. We may not consider avocado your traditional type of fruit. It is a fruit. Avocado is one of the highest ethylene producing fruit, which means that if you keep them together or if you're looking for a ripe avocado, dig to the bottom. They're almost always definitely riper at the bottom. Look for the color. 1, they start bright green and they'll turn darker as they get ripe. 2, same thing about give. They'll hold the dent, but you don't want them to be like complete mush. You kind of want them to feel a little bit firm. And I guess maybe the best visual indicator is that if you pop this little stem bit off, you can see if it's white, it'll be underripe. If it's green, it's perfectly ripe. And if it's brown, then it's gone too far. Slice in between. That way it covers more surface area on your sandwich, and it stays together so it won't completely slip and slide around. Next we have cherries. The best way to tell if they're ripe is whether or not the stem comes out easy. This one took a little bit of pulling, so I think these could probably go a little bit longer. You want very, very firm flesh. Because the skin is so thin and the meat is right underneath the skin, the way it kind of feels in your hand is the way it'll feel in your mouth. They don't end up on the fruit plate that often because I'm allergic to them, so I don't really buy them that often. They're easy enough to eat whole where you don't need to de-pit them, but if you wanted to pit them, you can put a small slice, take a chopstick, just kind of push it through the hole. I'll be itchy a little bit, it's fine. Here we have some persimmons. When they get really ripe, they turn a darker orange, and they'll even start to like turn brown or black. That's just sugar forming under the skin. I don't know if you can see like this one, I'm pressing same firmness, nothing. This one here, easy indent. Taiwanese people I know like to eat it super underripe, but I personally like to wait till they turn into jello inside. So when I serve them underripe like this, I'll usually peel them and I'll serve them in rounds because they have that like starburst little sun pattern. For these really, really gooey ripe ones, I'll cut through the bottom and then I'll just pop through it. And you can see just like even in terms of difference of like texture of flesh, but you can see like it's literally falling out of the skin. But they're delicious both ways. It's like jello. Allow me to quote Ghostface Killah here. This rap is like ZD, facing me real TV, crash at high speed, strawberry kiwi. So a ripe kiwi will have a couple of distinct factors. One is that the skin will get a little bit darker rather than like pale brown. The less hairy ones are more pleasant to eat because the skin is edible. You cut both the top and the bottom off and you just kind of take a spoon and I go like this. I'll slip it in and you just spin. It feels a little bit firm For a ripe kiwi, kind of tart, sweet, and a little bit fibrous, but very yummy. All right, so up next we have strawberries and we have blackberries. Yes, you want to buy things in peak season. You want to buy things when they're most naturally ripe. The global trade economy has made seasonality not a thing of the past, but less important than it used to be. Strawberries are maybe like one of the few fruit that I think seasonality really is important. They're always definitely better during berry season, which is like late spring to early summer. But I think the best way to find a good strawberry is to look for a really deep red color. Fresh tops, when you slice her open and you look inside, there should be a minimal white. These berries are just okay considering that it is February. Blackberries are comprised of these like little individual like juice sacs, you know what I mean? Like these guys. And that's what I mean when I say like the same way it feels in your mouth is the way it'll feel on your fingertips. And like this one, it feels like I'm squeezing a little baby's cheek, you know what I mean? Very good. The general rules for citrus are about the same. So this is a pomelo. This is a tangerine, lemon, lime, mandarin, and kumquat. The best ones always have the most juice. And the best way to tell that is, again, relative size to weight. But another general rule for citrus is that you want to look for a very smooth, shiny-skinned citrus. That means the rinds are healthy. It means the inside fruit is protected. Citrus produces a lot of its own natural oils, and when you see it's no longer shiny, it means it's not producing enough oil. For fruits like lime and lemon, they stop ripening once they get picked, so there's no real way to extra ripen your limes and lemons once they're bought. Up next we have a tangerine and a mandarin. They're very similar in terms of anatomy. Unlike an orange, you can kind of feel how plump it is on the inside. They'd probably be plump and juicy once you open it up. So up next I have a navel orange. A big visual trick for navel oranges is that they have a little belly button on the bottom, and the bigger it is, traditionally, the sweeter it is. The skin on pomelos is so thick that the only real way to tell how juicy and how ripe they are is to feel actually how heavy they are. So in the last video I was in, I supremed a pomelo, and I got so much flack for it because people told me, you're not supposed to do it that way. You're breaking up the juice that way. You're wasting fruit that way. I know how to peel a pomelo, okay? I still got 40 minutes every day to peel each individual pomelo section, all right? So today, I'm gonna show you guys how to peel a pomelo right. So for me, I like to start going like this, taking the top off so you can see it, section parts of it, peel the rind off in the center. And you can see right here, if I just pull like this, it comes away cleanly on this end. It'll come away cleanly on this end. You just have beautiful little already pre-sectioned chunks. I don't know if you can see like how big like the individual little sections are here. Like the best way I could describe it is like eating really crispy shrimp. Pomelo tastes kind of like grapefruit, but way sweeter and less bitter. So yummy. It's time for what I would consider my favorite part of the day. It's putting together the fruit plate. I usually like to start with our dragon fruit. I like to kind of treat each little thing as a petal on a flower maybe. I feel like that feels a little corny, but it's not a lie. I think fruit tastes better when you cut it yourself, and even better when somebody else cuts it for you. What you guys are seeing is the result of trial and error. So that's the fruit plate. I hope you guys learned something. Follow me on Instagram @fruitsome, and go out and support your local fruit ox slanging that thing. I can't say it with a straight face.